Well, Sir Donald Trump did it again. At 1:17 in the morning, the President of the United States jumps on social media and verbally attacks the Supreme Court. And I'm not talking about mild criticism here. I mean a full-on attack. He calls it the most corrupt court in American history. And then it gets even more intense. He starts going after the justices he appointed himself, calling them rhinos, saying they turned on him, saying they sided against the country. At one point, he even suggests they've basically declared war on America. Now, just think about that for a second. That's not the kind of thing someone posts because they're a little annoyed. That's the kind of reaction you get from someone who expected something very different to happen. Because here's the reality. He went to the Supreme Court looking for a lifeline. Remember, this is the same court he spent years shaping, the same court where he placed multiple justices. For a long time, a lot of people assumed that if things ever reached this level, this court might actually come through for him. But when the request finally landed in front of them, when he asked for what was essentially extraordinary help, the court looked at it and said no. The vote was 5-4. And here's the detail that really jumps out. 2 of the justices in that majority were people he personally appointed. So this isn't just some routine legal loss. This isn't a small setback you brush off and move on from. What this looks like is something much bigger. It looks like a strategy hitting a wall. A strategy that's been building and evolving ever since the aftermath of the 2020 election. And judging by that late night reaction, this decision clearly did not go the way he expected. So let's first take a look at what CNN is reporting about this ruling. And then I'm going to break down what I think is really going on here, because this moment might be more significant than it looks at first glance.
We begin tonight with breaking news. We have obtained what is expected to be a central piece of the government's case against Donald Trump. The actual audio recording of the former president talking as if he's showing a highly classified document on U.S. war plans against Iran, with people not cleared to even know it exists, let alone what's in it. In a moment, only on CNN, you will hear what jurors will hear one day. The recording was made 2 summers ago, July 2021, at the former president's club in Bedminster, New Jersey. You will clearly hear the former president as he is speaking to several people. According to the special counsel's indictment, they include a writer working on Mark Meadows' memoir, the publisher, and 2 of Trump's staff members. The president was aware he was being recorded. This is the first time it is being played publicly.
These are bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
Well, it started right at the beginning.
Like when Milley's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in.
That's right.
Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Wow. We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case,
Mm-hmm.
Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time,
she'd send
Private
it.
email.
No, she'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert.
Please print.
By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying because we were talking about it, and he said he wanted to attack Iran and what. These are the papers. This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify.
figure out
See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is classified.
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so. Here and I have. And you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's
you.
incredible, right?
No,
Hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
Well, joining us now, CNN anchor and chief correspondent Caitlin Collins, also our senior legal affairs correspondent Paula Reed. Caitlin, first of all, what do you make? This is the first time we are hearing this audio. We'd seen a transcript. There's more in this audio than we actually had seen, I think, in the transcript. What stands out to you?
Yeah, there is more in this. And
All right. Now, I want you to really pay attention to what was in that clip we just played because it's incredibly important. That audio recording, Trump at Bedminster in July of 2021, you can literally hear it happening in real time. You hear papers moving. You hear the sound of documents being handled. He's clearly looking at something in his hands. And while that's happening, he's talking to people in the room who do not have clearance for that kind of information. He's telling them about classified war plans. He's referencing them directly, almost like he's showing them off. Now, remember, for months, the claim from his side was that there wasn't really a document, that there was nothing specific, nothing concrete. But on that recording, it's right there. You hear his voice. You hear the paper rustling. You hear him referencing the material he's holding. It's not speculation anymore. It's on tape. And now, at the same time, the Supreme Court has just ruled that Congress can access the Pentagon documents connected to the Iran operation, the very documents tied to this whole situation. Think about the timing here. This is the same Supreme Court Trump was counting on to protect him, the same court many people believed would be his legal shield in moments like this. But when the decision came down, that's not what happened. Chief Justice John Roberts sided against him. Brett Kavanaugh sided against him. 2 justices he personally nominated. 2 justices he clearly believed would be in his corner. And then, just hours later, at 1 a.m., we see the reaction. Trump jumps onto Truth Social and completely unloads, calling the court corrupt, calling the justices disloyal, basically accusing them of betraying him. And when you put these pieces together, the audio recording, the documents, and now the Supreme Court ruling, you start to understand why that reaction was so explosive.
This is, of course, the part that is at the center of Jack Smith's investigation. And we knew about this. CNN first reported that this existed and that Jack Smith's prosecution had it in their hands. But to hear it, I think really just drives home and it undercuts everything that Trump has been saying. I mean, even as of a few days ago, he was saying there was no document per se, but you can hear him very clearly in there referencing something in his hands.
You can hear him shuffling through papers.
And he's not just saying, here's this document. He very clearly appears to be showing it to them.
He
of
says,
course,
look.
Only the people in the room could know that, but you can hear in that why this is so critical to Jack Smith's case, because it's Trump acknowledging, I have this document. It is secret. It is classified. I cannot declassify it now because he's 6 months out of office. And it's just remarkable to hear him actually saying it. And I was talking to someone in Trump's orbit about this because obviously a lot of people, several people in his orbit have heard it themselves when they found out about it in mid-March. And we were talking about comparing it kind of to the Access Hollywood tape, how if you just had a transcript of that, it wouldn't have been maybe as, controversial and contentious as it was when you could actually hear it. Yeah. Same with this. The fact that, we could read the transcript, but hearing it, I think, drives it home so much more.
Paula, you've reported extensively on this case. What's your reaction to actually hearing that audio?
Anderson, it's remarkable how casual this conversation is. The former president knew he was being recorded during this meeting. His own aides were in the habit of recording him anytime he talked to journalists or people working on books. And in the room with him were 2 people who were working on an autobiography for Mark Meadows. But even though he knows he's being recorded, you hear him sort of casually discussing classified documents, admitting that he cannot declassify these, and then just a few moments later, calling to someone to bring them some Coke. It's very conversational. That's one of the things that really sticks out to me, and I think it's important for people to really hear exactly what this sounds like. There's a lot of laughter in that recording as well. One of the other things that stands out to me is the fact that he and the people around him in that room were joking about former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. That is something we previously didn't know about because it was not included in the indictment. Now, from a legal standpoint, it makes sense that prosecutors wouldn't include that, right? Because it's not incriminating, it's not really relevant to their case. But in the court of public opinion, the fact that he's making jokes about Hillary Clinton, other people in the room making jokes about Anthony Weiner as well, that I think really comes off as some hubris. We have the benefit of hindsight here, right? Now this is being used as a key piece of evidence in a federal prosecution.
And Caitlin, there is that moment where he says, that these are the papers, and you can hear them. And I want to play that again because it's instructive to actually kind of visualize what he's doing. Let's play this.
And yes, then there's Jack Smith. He sat before Congress and testified under oath that his investigative team found evidence showing beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump committed serious felony offenses. Now that phrase matters. Beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the highest legal standard in the American justice system. That's the standard prosecutors have to meet if they want to send someone to prison. And this isn't coming from a political pundit or a cable news panel. This is the special counsel who actually built the case, the person who spent years investigating it, the person who oversaw a team that went through millions of documents, interviewed witnesses, and presented evidence in front of a grand jury. And when he was asked about it, Smith didn't hedge. He didn't backtrack. He said very clearly that, based strictly on the facts and the law, he would make the exact same charging decisions again. In other words, from his perspective, the case itself held up. The charges were dropped for one reason only, not because the evidence collapsed, not because prosecutors suddenly changed their minds, and not because the case couldn't be proven. They were dropped because of a Department of Justice policy that says a sitting president cannot be indicted. That's it, a policy, an internal rule inside the Justice Department. And here's the key detail people often forget. Policies can change and policies can expire. They are not the same thing as a jury verdict or a court ruling that permanently closes the door. So here's my honest read on what we're watching right now. That late night meltdown, I don't think that's just anger. I think it's panic. Because the institutions he expected to protect him, the courts, the legal system, the checks that he believed would ultimately shield him are actually doing their jobs instead. And when you line up the pieces, the audio recording, the sworn testimony, and now the Pentagon documents that Congress is gaining access to, they're all pointing in the same direction. He spent years building a legal and political fortress around himself, but with that Supreme Court decision, it looks like the court may have just handed Congress the keys to the gate. So that's where things stand right now. You've got the audio recording, you've got sworn testimony from the special counsel, and now you've got a Supreme Court decision that opens the door for Congress to see the Pentagon documents tied to this operation. And when you put all of that together, it's not hard to understand why the reaction we saw in the middle of the night was so intense. Because moments like this are when the pressure really starts to build. Now, of course, this story is still developing. More details are going to come out, more reporting is going to happen, and we're probably going to learn a lot more about what's actually inside those documents in the weeks ahead. But one thing is clear, this situation is far from over. I'm going to keep following this closely, and when new information drops, we'll break it down here. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I read them, and a lot of the best discussions happen down there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.